I wouldn't say it's a joke, but I didn't really, I didn't really think much thinking in that.
Yeah.
Because probably came because I needed to open a Facebook profile. I didn't really want to use my own name,
Hmm.
but everyone called me Gab. Like since I was a teenager, like
Yeah.
it was Gab for everyone. Everybody knew me as Gab.
Hmm.
So that part was sorted.
Yeah.
As the last name was basically okay, De La Vega. There's just also like I'm not sure if you know who Diego De La Vega is.
No.
It's basically Zorro. You know.
Oh.
Okay, so when is Zorro, but he's also Diego de la Vega.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yes. It's all.
everybody's been asking that.
Of
And
course. No.
do you know what Zorro means in Spanish?
No.
Fox.
Ah, nah, yeah.
Do you know what's on my You Never Look Back record cover?
Yeah, exactly. I remember because I have the
The
T-shirt.
fox.
Yeah, I have the T-shirt with the fox.
So I'm basically messing with everyone. So everybody's just trying to figure out why I decided to go with that name, and I'm just like
It's cool.
uh, placing hints here and there to mislead people, like the whole police dead thing with the Beatles, I guess,
Yeah.
smaller scale.
No, but it's really, yeah, it's really cool. But just to play with these little things is super awesome. I also didn't.
Yeah, and then eventually I think that like the reasons why I picked that name are just mine, and I'm probably never gonna share it with anyone. We'll
Very
see.
cool. It's very cool. I really I think it's great. It's really awesome. And then you also have your own record label, right? Epidemic Records.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
did that start when you started your own journey 10 years ago or later
It
on?
started. It started when I recorded my first record with my punk rock band. Back then, I used to play more punk rock than hardcore, and of course, we realized that nobody was going to put out a record for teenagers, even if it was not like a bad record. But I mean,
Hmm.
we didn't really have any idea how it worked. We thought, well, you need to put out a record, you need to find some label to put it out, and then we realized that nobody was going to do that. So I thought, okay, so I'm gonna,
Yeah.
create my own label and put it out myself.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I could do the same thing for bands of friends of mine and other bands that were similar to ours, and to help other friends or people. And then it started, helping out friends, giving some money to get some copies of the records and try to distribute in the DIY circuit. And eventually that uh, evolved in something more complex, maybe too much sometimes. Uh, but yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's a big part of my life, and sometimes it's like very time consuming and time demanding. But some other times it also gives very uh, like nice satisfactions for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's of course all, and but that's the same with music, isn't it? Like it's so much work of
It never ends. Like
yeah.
you know where you start something, but there's if you relax and you slow down on some things like music and being creative and doing stuff. I think even like animal rights activism, anything. I mean, if you
Mm.
do that, then eventually it's gonna come to a full stop. And
Yeah.
if you're passionate about something, you cannot afford that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's definitely that's definitely a very good point you're raising. And because that's something that I was thinking as well. How do you see your own progress? Like for if we say now, for the last 10 years you've been making music, because I've been, especially your songs, but also your video clips, for example, they're so professional now, like I think you were in the States or something to do
Canada.
it's just it's really like, it's like, am I just that could just go straight to MTV. It's amazing. So how is that for you to see your own progress? Because you've
Well,
definitely grown a lot, I would say.
thank you very much. Like let's go with the videos first. I'm very lucky that my cousin Jaden, he is a photographer and video maker, and he helped me out a lot with all the visual stuff. So for example, the Perfect Texture video, the one with the Back to the Future DeLorean, I
Hmm.
was very lucky because a friend of his, he owns a Back to the Future DeLorean, like a replica, but it's an exact replica. So I wanted to use that car for a video when it was in Canada a couple years ago, and I asked him if I could use a car for like an afternoon to get some footage. And he said, like for you, it's for free. You can use it. Just take it and do whatever you need to do with the car. And so we filmed it. We drove to like a dead end street in Burlington, Ontario, and we filmed lots of scenes there. And then we put it together with some footage we recorded with my friend Brad, who came over from Germany to Italy to film the like the band scenes, the scenes with the band, and we put it together. So like it's a very low budget, but that doesn't mean that you have to do something
great.
like
Yeah.
it looks nice. I mean, and
Really good. Really good.
I put a lot of thinking and effort in, videos and songs and productions. I think that if you want to go somewhere, you need to put some extra effort. And sometimes it's also financial effort. I mean, I was lucky with the videos because it cost me like, I wouldn't say peanuts, but like not as much as someone would think. But for the records, I want the quality to be excellent. I want it to sound as good as possible. And that pays off because sometimes, people listen to your record and say, okay, this is a very good record and sounds good. So to reply to your question, I never thought I could get to this point, to be honest, when I started. I never thought, like, last thing that happened, I mean, I'm not very comfortable talking about it because it was never announced. But when I was doing this chat with Frank Turner, he brought it up. So he basically said we can talk about it publicly. But like I played with Frank Turner like in 2019. It was my first full band show. And again, I'm surprised I could go for a full band thing. I never thought of it. And then eventually invited him to play Lost Evenings Festival, which never happened, of course, because of COVID, but it's gonna happen hopefully someday. And I never thought like he's probably like the biggest name in my music genre, and he invited me to play a festival after a show together. It's a big responsibility and
and a compliment.
A big compliment. Yes, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I can. And I really hope that the best is yet to come, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, but it's just really amazing how, where you are now and where you were, like to sort of, I think it's important to keep looking back when you're also looking forward.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And was it something that you set out when you were like 15, like as a dream, like, man, I just want to make music. That's all I want to do in my life.
Sometimes I think back of it, and I can remember I like being in high school, and I was having this talk with a professor of mine, and she was like, "What are you doing? Because you're not stupid. You're just sometimes it seems like you don't really want to study these things." And I mean, some things I was very passionate at school, and some things I wasn't. And that professor was some of the professor I wasn't passionate about. And I remember I told her I want to play music and run my own label and be involved in music as much as I can. And I know that it's never gonna be like 100% of my efforts and my time and whatever I do, but I want that to be a huge part of my life. And eventually, and here
you are.
I kept true to that. I mean, sometimes it's very painful, but that's how it is.
Yeah, because what is if we kind of go for the pros and cons, like what are let's give 5 good points of it and 5 harder points of it. Like what would you say is good and bad for you?
Bad points is definitely like instability. Because, for example, to be available and to be focused and to allow myself to think of touring and consider touring and focus on my, let's say, musical career, I cannot have like a 9-to-5 job, for example. Because if you do that, you eventually are gonna be trapped in that.
Yeah.
And I don't say it's a negative thing, but if you want to focus on making music, you cannot have a 9-to-5 job. You have to be extremely flexible, because when a train comes and you need to hop on it, then you have to be available. But of course, this things brings instability.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard to make the ends meet, and especially nowadays, I cannot play any shows. That had an impact, of course. And that's definitely a negative on the negative side. On the positive side is that I've done things and met people and had conversations and seen places that I could never imagine seeing in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have memories of things that happened to me, even like, let's say, like bad ones that happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, this is not ordinary.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky. I'm very
Yeah.
lucky. That helped me definitely to grow as a human being, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. I mean, these are 2 points that are definitely more on one side and more on the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can think of some if you want.
Because if you say also with your instability, for example, do you live from music or do you have a job that is supporting you to
I
be?
know. I mean, music sometimes. I mean, it's supposed to help, and so some money comes from there. But of course, I have other things that bring
Yeah.
me money on the table.
Yeah.
For example, I have 2 English courses, and at the moment they're online and mostly for seniors and adults. And it's very fulfilling, and
Yeah.
it's usually on Monday and Tuesday nights, and it's not very time demanding in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then here and there, I have like English conversations, and I have to teach English to students. I have to go through the exams, for example, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And that's definitely where the money is coming from now.
Yeah.
Then again, with Epidemic Records, especially nowadays, I'm working a lot with the press office. So I'm
Yeah.
promoting musicians and people that have no idea how to promote a record and
Mm-hmm.
launch a video or single, for example.
Yeah.
But again, it's very flexible, so
Yeah.
I can do that wherever I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just computer or phone. It's very important if you want to go be on tour or focus on music.
Yeah.
And I hope that someday with music we'll be back and some money would come back again. And it's money from music would
Yeah.
be
Of course.
nice.
Yeah. That would be nice if we when the when we come out of pandemic times,
Yeah.
you can drop a few things and because if there is a 14-year-old kid now who's just like you when you were starting and you were like having this dream, like what kind of advice would you give a youngster who is or anybody who is just passionate about music and making it into the music business? What would you say to them?
Don't waste time. Like, be focused on what you're doing. Like, if you have a target, you want to do something, don't waste time. Just keep doing whatever you have to do to make it. And never give up. I mean, I know it's very it's an abused concept, but it's true. Like sometimes, and even myself, sometimes I feel like, oh, this is going nowhere. I'm wasting my life. Sometimes I think of that. I mean, I have to be honest, especially nowadays. Like, what am I doing? Because I'm not playing shows. That's all the whole identity of myself as a musician. It's been wiped out.
Yeah.
But again, like if you push harder, you push through these kind of negative thoughts, and you can go somewhere. You can accomplish something. And nothing comes easy. That's another big of advice. Things that come easy, they're probably going to disappear as easily.
Yeah, it just as fast as it came, it will probably disappear again.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. Very good
Yeah.
advice. Yeah. And have you felt, have you gotten a lot of resistance in your life? Like, Gab, this will never work. And what? Are you doing music? Like, you can't even sing. Or, have you had to deal with a lot of, other people's opinions on your career or whatever it is that you were doing in music?
Well, I was lucky enough that my family was very supportive. I never had that big discussion in my life, like, get a job. And,
amazing.
They were very supportive, and I'm very lucky.
Bless them.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I met people that were like trying to bring me down, and it was never like a direct thing. It was like subtle sometimes, or sometimes it's like the feedback you get from people. You put a lot of work in something, and you put all yourself in something, and then you put it out and you share it with the world, and some people just don't care. So it's some sort of a passive response, and that's very hurtful sometimes. But again, like I said before, push through that.
Yeah.
If you believe that you have something good, that you're doing something good,